All right, welcome back to Lindroth Hockey Podcast. We are in partnership with the Black and Gold Hockey Production Studio. We're here with co-host father and son duo, Andrew and Jim Lindroth. Dad, how are you today?
Doing great, Andrew. This is episode 130. This is a special, just us, Bruins going into game 3 against the Florida Panthers here on April 21st. So we're doing a quick playoff episode here. So we got a lot of stats to go over. Get our own personal thoughts and just be fanatics here going into game 3. So Bruins win game 1, looked great. Going to game 2, sloppy, turnovers everywhere. They lose big time on game 2. Now we're going into game 3. So what do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, I think with the stomach bug going around the room, I think that people are underestimating that's probably had a toll on quite a bit of those players. They said that Jacob Lauko had lost 8 pounds during it. A lot of those guys are very sick, and you can't underestimate an illness. The reason why I'm mentioning the illness right now is because the last game, Dad, you can disagree with me or agree with me if you'd like. I'd like to hear your thoughts, but I feel like that game was very it was not characteristic of them at all. And I think that that was one of the few bad losses that they would have all season, including the regular season. So I'm hoping that they move on from that. They obviously missed Bergeron, but they can also win without Bergeron. What were your thoughts with the poor performance last game? Because I'm not too worried about it, believe it or not. I'm not 100% worried about it.
Right. And again, it's playoff hockey, so everybody's crazy and oversensitive about everything that happens. But we've been able to digest this. And I think we were all heated like any other Boston Bruins fans of what the hell's going on with this team. And no, I'm not worried about it. And my thoughts on the game, and actually I got a couple quotes here, and I think the coach nailed it best. So Montgomery's talked about how turnovers were catastrophic. And he also put that they're not typical of the turnovers that they're used to. And that's true. And yeah, sloppy turnovers galore. I mean, that's something that's an easy fix.
Right.
I looked at in game 1, Allmark, he didn't look good to me as far as like his face, meaning he looked ill to me. He didn't look like his normal focused self. And again, we knew he was battling a stomach bug at that time. What happened on Wednesday? Who knows? I thought he played a decent game. Maybe there's some effects. I heard he's game time decision today, so we may have Swayman come in, but again, with anything to deal with lineups and changes and things like that, coaches are going to play everything injuries close to the vest, even though you told me there's a report on Bergeron. Where's Bergeron stand?
Yeah, so Bergeron right now officially does have an injury. It was speculated that it was just a sickness, but he did himself confirm that he did tweak something in the last game. He wanted to play the last game because his father is in very bad health, and he is, of course, from Quebec, Montreal area, and his whole family came out. So we need to leave him alone about his decision there, but he is officially out for game 3 and 4, Dad. They are hoping he is available for game 5, but it's looking like we may miss Bergeron this whole first round if we don't,
And like you said, the Bruins are quite capable of winning without Bergeron, but again, having Bergeron would only be a plus. Let me run through some stats. It's only been 2 games, but here's stats, and let's look at any trends that we can dig into here. So as far as minutes played, no surprise here. McAvoy leads with about 22 minutes per game, followed by Orlov and Lindholm, both with 21. So no surprise there, but something that did surprise me, the minute leader in the first 2 games for the forwards is Krejci.
Right.
And we're going to talk about how many shifts players have. And I think it's going to tell us of how some lines are doing quicker, faster shifts. And what I mean by that, I'll just go into it. In shifts, the leader for the forwards is Marchand. He's got 55 shifts, and I think he's averaging about 18 minutes per game. So that first line is doing very quick shifts. Pasta, Krejci, and DeBrusk are all with about 49, 50 shifts. Coyle's at 50. And but like I said, with the minute leader being Krejci, that looks like that second line is getting more ice time,
Well, and
which just means I would guess, I mean, we're only playing with a minute or two on ice, but there's shorter shifts on that first line.
well, and Dad, I do want to say this too. Other than the fourth line guys, there are two players who have under 15 minutes of ice time per game right now. Frederick, who's only about 10 and a half minutes, which he's switching off the fourth line. Once the whole place is healthy, he'll be on the fourth line. But Taylor Hall, barely 13 minutes a game. I mean, he's barely getting anything more than fourth line numbers. Why do you think that is, Dad? I mean, you want to use his speed, and I know that the physicality may be a big part too, but it's not like he's a stranger to it. So
we should call up Dave Capuano.
We should.
And I don't want to put words in Dave's mouth, but I'm pretty sure Dave would say, he's coming back from an injury.
Correct. Yeah.
And, Dave being a former NHLer, he kind of got on my case when we were talking one time recently about, I forget what player it was. And he was like, coming back from injuries different than, coming back from like a common cold, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that you're just taking it slow with Hall, but yeah, of course, everybody's concerned, but it's going to take time for him to get his groove. So I'm not surprised at the lack of minutes there.
Right.
Guy that's just tearing it up postseason as far as he's leading with points. It's only 2 games is Bertuzzi.
Right.
But the guy is involved in everything, and he's an agitator.
Right.
And he's getting under the skin of Tkachuk.
Yep.
And we need him, but we also, I think we need his gritty play. He's going to take a lot of focus away from the Florida Panthers. And he's having a hell of a playoff series already.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Dan, I just feel like I'm hoping that this game will definitely be different. I hope that the guys are rested because the defense looked really bad. I mean, even Orlov and everything. And I say bad as in they just didn't look like themselves because our D is probably one of the most excellent 3 pairings that we have in the NHL. But it was just such an added characteristic. Of course, I was very upset. We were all upset that day. But after you sleep on it, you realize that I don't think the Bruins will be making a habit of this. So, Dad, what do you think that they need to do? All bullshit aside, what do they need to do to win Game 3? Because now they have home ice advantage taken away from them after the loss last night.
Right. But they could gain it back with a win.
Right.
All right. Well, let me run down some Florida stats real quick. So I ran down the minutes, and this is kind of telling. So remember, McAvoy runs with about 22 minutes for the Bruins. For Florida, it's Montour at 25 minutes per game. And almost at 25 minutes is Ekblad and Forsling.
Yeah.
Now, that's a lot of minutes for those 3 defensemen.
Right.
Tkachuk is at 21 and Reinhardt's at 22, and they're their stars. And of course, they got Bennett back too.
Right.
But that's a lot of minutes for those guys. And the Bruins need to wear them down.
Yes, I agree.
What do the Bruins need to do? They need to get back to playing Bruins hockey, and why they have won so many games this regular season, and why they're the President's Trophy. And I haven't seen any Bruins fans saying, "Oh, President's Trophy curse," even though everybody's thinking about it. They lost 1 game bad. What I'm surprised at, well, actually, I'm not surprised. We see it very often every year. And pretty much every series, except I think the Rangers New Jersey series is one of them that, it's 1-1.
Right.
And just like the Toronto Lightning series, again, Lightning came out on fire like the Bruins did Game 1 and totally embarrassed Toronto, which was fun, by the way, as a Bruins fan. But then last night, Game 2, different story. Toronto, different team. Now, what did Florida do different in Game 2? Well, again, they had Bennett back. And Maurice, their coach, changed up the lines. So the Bruins will adjust to that.
Right.
They came out flat. Yeah, stomach bug going around. Who knows who's hurt? Who knows who's playing hurt? But the Bruins have so much depth that this shouldn't be a problem.
Well, and Dad, so now that we are talking about the next game, I do want to bring up the early this morning that they had a practice. Here are the lines that Monty will start the game with. Obviously, it'll change because you'll hear this. First line, Marchand, Coyle, and Frederick. Second line, Hall, Zaka, Pasta. Third line, Bertuzzi, Krejci, DeBrusk, fourth line, Lauco subbing in for Foligno, Noshik, and Hathaway. Clifton pulled out. Now Grizzlies replace him. Grizzlick, McAvoy top line. Second pairing is Lindholm, Carlo, and they're keeping Forbert in, and he'll be playing with Orlov. I feel like Forbert, I like him. He's obviously a good block shot guy, good penalty kill guy, but Dad, he's getting burnt bad by these fast, smaller guys on Florida. And right now it's almost like, and this is not to dog on Forbert, but it's almost like shades of Chara when McAvoy had to constantly jump behind him, save the play. So my point is they're having to work a little harder defensively to kind of help out with Forbert. I think you need Grizzlick in his transition game going up the ice because the defenseman can't move the puck right now.
I would love to have Grizz back, but I would not be sitting Clifton.
I would not be sitting Clifton. I don't know why they would be. I think he's been playing well.
I think Clifton's been playing well. I mean, we're sitting here in my office talking on a microphone on a podcast. We're not the head coach, and there's a reason for that.
Right.
So we have to trust Montgomery knows what he's doing. But Carlo is, I dog on Carlo all the time. So do you. And he just seems to be on his ass whenever somebody scores on our goalie. Right. And it just might be, I've just got a bad taste in my mouth for Carlo, but he's been burnt so many times, doesn't pick up the extra player. But again, I think I'm just biased because I want the Bruins to get rid of Carlo. So, right. But Carlo is big. He does make some good plays. I got to give him that. But I just think that I wouldn't be playing a Carlo. But I know there's a lot of Carlo fans, and maybe he does something. I never played defense. I was more of a forward when I played. So maybe he does the things, but he just drives me nuts. It just seems like every time there's a goal, Carlo is looking around like, what just happened? But anyway, I don't want to dog on Carlo. Here's what I think is going to happen. So the Bruins, obviously, if this lineup, by the way, that'll be a strange lineup.
I know. Very strange.
But if those are the lines, then maybe it's in response to the changeup of lines that Florida did.
Correct.
In game 2. Now, they're going to have to reconcile with this, both teams, right? You have Longberg being the puss that he is of trying to choke out Frederick at the end of game 2.
Right.
He was looking for it. Frederick gave it to him and took it to him. And then the guy starts choking out Frederick. And you can see that if people want to watch the video again, go ahead and Google it. But that's uncalled for. And I think there's going to be payback for that.
Well, and Frederick even said in an interview that he said he was about 2 seconds away. He thought his lights were going out. He was like, I thought I was going to be passed out on the ice because he was just choking him and laying on him. And Lomberg's 190 pounds. He's a small guy, but he's not that small.
So you've got Bertuzzi, like I said, agitating, and he's got Kachuk's number.
Right.
And that's good to get Kachuk, in the penalty box. I'd hate to lose Bertuzzi, but Bertuzzi seems to have his number, gets under his skin.
If
gets
you can take Kachuk out
skin.
Off the ice, though, I think it's worth it, even if it is Bertuzzi,
So you've got already some hatred, which is great. It's playoff hockey. So if I was a coach, here's what I would do. And I would simply tell Frederick and, Foligno's out. Right, you said Foligno's out.
Yeah, as of the morning skate, he was not in the lineup.
I'd tell Frederick and anybody else that has any sort of they want to go at somebody to get it out early and get it in the first period. Set the tone, get it out of your system, and then let's get back to playing discipline. And I think this is where Cassidy went wrong in the past years, where he always pledged, look the other way, turn the cheek, and it didn't serve the Bruins well at all under his tenure to get to the winning the cup. And Bruins have that depth as far as physicality. I think that Nosek has a target on his back where they thought Nosek did a couple, I think it was a dirty hit.
Elbow, yeah.
And so he's going to have to step up to the plate. He's not a fighter, but he will drop his gloves. And I think if that's going to happen, let's get it out early. And let's take it to them and get them off their game and frustrate them and start scoring goals. So the Bruins still doing well on power play.
Right. Yeah, they're finally picking their power play back up.
So
penalty kill's been fine.
Marchand seems to be finding the net, so he's starting to peak at a good time. He's getting hot. So the Bruins, I think, are in good shape. But again, we need a little bit more from like Foligno has 12 penalty minutes. There's no, there's no shock that he's sitting.
Right. And he hasn't done, and to be fair, he hasn't done that much.
Bertuzzi has like 12 penalty minutes, but he's in there like what he's doing and agitating. I mean, it's
right
worth it, shall we say?
Right.
But Foligno's just not stepped up yet. Maybe he's not 100% from his injury, but he wants in since this is probably his last postseason.
Right.
Coyle moving the puck really well. But my God, Bruins have got to shoot the puck more. And I think there's just been one pass too many on a lot of plays.
Well, and I think if Foligno's out, Lauko would be in. And I think that kid, I think he's going to be a wrecking ball if he does play. I think he's going to be finishing checks, and his speed is what that fourth line needs. And Hathaway's really fast too. You need that speed.
So Hathaway's he's there, but I can't say he's been a big presence the way that his reputation of being a disruptor is. So I want to see Hathaway get involved. And like I said, Hathaway might be the guy that's sort of in reserve, that if somebody goes after a McAvoy, which by the way, they're going after McAvoy, that he needs to step in.
Right. Well, because I think also too, it's like with Marchand, I think he's afraid to start shit or get involved because the refs, he has a reputation, and I think he'll get a penalty easily. So I think he's been trying to be more reserved, but I think you're right, Dad. Could you imagine Marchand, Bertuzzi, Frederick, and Hathaway all being rats on the ice? Every line, you got somebody get under the skin, drawing penalties, right? You want to do that.
So let's flip again. We don't know the goalie situation. Allmark is a game time decision as of this moment. I think we're still okay. Swayman's not Olmec, but Swayman is still Sway. He can certainly get the job done.
Right.
And if need be,
we got Brandon Bussey.
Bussey
6'6", baby. I mean, he's huge.
And he's had a great season. So I think as far as the goaltending is concerned, Bruins still get the depth, meaning, you take out one goalie, like with Lightning. Who do they get? They get Elliott, old veteran Elliott as a backup. So if Vaz gets hurt, that's pretty much game season, series ending there. In my opinion, nothing against Elliott, but he's not Vaz.
No.
So the Bruins have got that. But what about Florida? Sure, you're going with the AHL goalie who's hot. He won game 2. He's playing well.
Oh yeah, he's had some great saves.
But you're going to sit the guy you're paying $10 million a year in the playoffs. Now, it's either he's going to be Maurice, the coach, is going to be the fool of the year, or if they end up upsetting the Bruins and moving on, then that's a genius of the playoffs right there, of playing that goalie. And of course, the jury's out. But I think as far as a respect, and remember, we talked about Cassidy disrespecting some of the Bruins players.
Right.
Drawing a blank. Backus.
Yes.
He did Backus wrong. And I think it smells like that to me.
Right.
That the coach is just doing Bobrovsky wrong. The guy was a 2-time Vezina winner.
Right. He's
still very, very good. And I understand going with a hot goalie, but you got to go with your vet. But hey, like I said, that's why he's the head coach.
Right. Well, I'm glad that the coaches are at least going, who's the best? Doesn't matter how much we pay you or your vet status.
I guess, but so when Bobrovsky's got to get in there. Right. Say the Bruins light this guy up.
Right.
Lions, that we light him up tonight and they pull him. Bobrovsky's going to be like, I don't care. Trade me right fucking now for next season.
And here's the thing too. They don't have the depth in goalie like we do because they're third string. I don't even know who it would be because Spencer Knight, which would have been a superstar.
I like that kid. I like that kid.
Good.
I wish him the best. I know he's in rehab. He's got to get some of his personal things together.
Yep.
But I like that kid.
Well, good on him for going to the NHLPA player assistance program and getting the help that he needs, whatever it is. We're not here to speculate, but good on the kid. Because my father and I, we've been fans of that kid for a while. So since he was drafted by them,
we've got to, I think officiating in general so far this playoff season has been hit or miss.
I was going to ask you about it. So other than the playoffs, what about last game? I felt like it took more than 10 minutes near the end whenever Nosek and Kachuk, they're all talking shit. I mean, they couldn't get the game under control. And I feel like at the end, that's why Frederick got in the fight. There was these big brawls. I mean, what do you think? I mean, the officiating's been pretty weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's been hit or miss. Definitely you need to, and it happened sort of in the game last night with Tampa and Toronto I was watching. Same type of thing here is you let things fester and it just gets worse. You got to like make the call, tell the coaches to shut up. You don't have to explain everything and drop the puck and move on.
Right.
And, even at the end of the Bruins game, there was 3 seconds left. And of course, the refs did make the right call of just saying game over.
Right.
So I do respect the refs there because when he blew the whistle and 3 seconds left, I was like, what is the ref doing?
Right. I mean,
But-
he's just asking for
But,
pandemonium.
look, it's a tough job. Remember, and I enjoy seeing our former guest, Dave Jackson,
Yes.
who's,
yes.
the ref commentator now for ESPN. We see him all the time on the TV. It's a tough job. They try to get it right. It's a fast game. I think Spit and Chicklets has done a good job about some blatant missed calls so far in the playoffs in general of calling out the refs. But it's hard.
You can't catch all of them, but some of the super blatant ones, it's hard to not get frustrated, a high hit or a high stick. But sometimes it's just in the moment,
you got
miss
to
it,
you
go
get
the other
Gary
way.
Bettman sitting at the last game, and I know
Tampa, Toronto, you mean?
no Bruins.
Oh, okay.
And I know he wants to take the fighting and sort of the aggressive slap shot-ish behavior out of hockey, but you're not going to, and especially in the playoffs, you got men all hyped up on testosterone, and there's too much face wash. There's too much. Just me being old. I don't like this reaching around and like strangling some guy and pushing him away.
Yeah.
If anything, punch him in the face and move on.
Right.
But none of this face wash, choking them, all this crap. It's nonsense. And I think if they release the pressure valve and allow some of these players and the linesmen not getting in, I think the linesmen are jumping in way too early.
Right.
Meaning, I think there has to be the pressure valve let loose, or you're going to have really bad situations that Bettman's going to be even more pissed off about if they don't let these players kind of police themselves. If they want 2 players want to go, let them go.
Right.
And don't just jump in there and tell them no. But anyway, that's just me. I want to see a little bit more of that because I think it's part of the game and I think it changes the momentum of the game. And I think it would help the Bruins an awful lot if we have that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's where we stand. It's still going to be great. I still think the Bruins are going to take it.
Right.
And if they don't, I will say this up front. I think most fans would agree with this. This is not Don Sweeney's fault if the Bruins don't get past round 1 or do not win the Stanley Cup because we've been critical of him past few years, all those first round picks that have gone bad, but he put together a Stanley Cup team and the players got to execute.
They have to execute. I agree. So Dad, what are your predictions? Do you think the Bruins are going to come back? And I'm not saying predictions as in game prediction of what's going to happen. Obviously we want the Bruins to win. Do you think the Bruins come out with their energy and their heads on their shoulders, or do you think that they're going to come out still fuzzy from all the sickness and travel?
I think both teams are going to come out aggressive and try to get a jump on the other. I think Boston will come out a little bit more heavy. But again, the big question is going to be, there are some resolved issues between players like the Lomberg and Frederick. And like I said, Nosek and I think it was Kachuk wanted him because he thought that high hit with the elbow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get it out of the way early because, you don't want that stuff when you in the middle of the game, let's just say.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it'll happen at the end of the game only if it's a blowout by one of the teams.
Right.
And that's kind of the unfortunate thing. Is it setting a tone? Yeah, it's sort of setting the tone, but it's also a little bit like last night with the Lightning in Toronto game. It got a little bit ridiculous of, I don't want to say sore losers because it doesn't make me sound like a hockey fan, but it's just bullshit when you're down, 7-1 or 6-1 or whatever the score was at the time. And it just turns into, cheap shot goon fest. And I understand, but it's just frustration. I don't know how much it is of setting a tone for the next game as it is
Just being cheap.
They just are frustrated and they want to take it out. And it's kind of expected. All right, we expect it. We're down, here comes the frustration.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to happen. But I think get it out of your system early, but let's see, but not play the Cassidy. Let's turn the other cheek and let's stay disciplined. No, there's too much resolved issues already.
Right.
So let Frederick go after Lomberg.
Yep.
And, and let them go after Nosek. He can take care of himself.
Yeah.
But again, Hathaway, he's going to step up.
You think Hathaway will step up next
He
game?
has to. I mean, that's going to be his role. What is he, a third line or fourth line tonight?
Fourth line, yeah.
And so he's going to have to step up, be the agitator. And I think he is sort of he is the secret right now because he's not really been.
He hasn't done too much yet.
Hasn't done
as far
too
as
much.
agitating and stuff.
Right. And I think that now he's going to step it up. That's my prediction. Hathaway's going to get up into the play, either start scoring or start agitating and start sticking up.
And I think Bertuzzi is going to be a menace tonight.
We can't forget the old school hockey of being cheap.
Right.
Or as Marchand likes to say, being on the border of respectful and cheap.
Right.
Right. And getting under the skin and getting Florida off their game.
Right.
Remember, that used to be 70s and 80s hockey, even the 90s.
Right.
It was all about the playoffs, pulling a team off their focus, agitating them, getting them razzled.
Right.
We used to rattle the goalies, but
Right.
now I think, we just can't do that. The goalies have got to protect themselves.
Yeah.
We as fans and the game, we have to protect the goalies more. It's too quick. Guys are getting too much into the crease, bumping goalies. But back in the day, it was, hitting goalies behind the net and, really causing problems. I don't want to see that.
What'd you think of Morgan Barron from Winnipeg? 75 stitches, bro. I don't think I would have gone out to play. I would have been like, I'm going fuck home. Man.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, good for him for playing.
He's got balls, dude. I don't think I'd be playing after
once
75
he's stitched
stitches.
up. He looks a lot better, but yeah, it's like a whole side of his face is all
falling on his skate. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not good, man.
yeah. But
Hockey tough, baby.
it's hockey tough. But anyway, let's stop this short episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if anybody hasn't done so, please subscribe to us.
By the way, go Seattle, dude. They're putting it to the Avalanche right now.
Did they win? No, they didn't win.
They didn't win last night, but they were close. I mean, they kept them there and they beat them up the first game. So I think even the Avalanche, everybody thought that they were going to make it to the finals again this year. Dude, it's playoffs. Anything can happen, Dad, right? Don't forget Columbus and Tampa a couple of years ago.
Subscribe to us on any app. That certainly helps us out. And subscribe to our YouTube. I'm going to post this, even though we've been looking at each other. Every once in a while, I look at the camera.
Yeah, same.
But, we've had requests, put some stuff up on YouTube. So you get to look at our ugly mugs here and all of Andrew's tattoos, even though he's covered them up today mostly. He usually wears a tank top.
Yes.
Yeah. And check out, by the way, we need to plug Andrew's band that is hot right now.
Yeah, real hot. Through It All, THRU, Through It All, alt rock. So, I mean, if you like rock, you'd like us, but we're doing a lot.
10,000 followers or something on YouTube or whatever it
10,000 over 10,000 Instagram, TikTok. We're playing some, we're going out doing some weekend runs in some other states, but we're getting hot right now. We're getting some good offers too that can't go public.
Check it out, Through It All.
THRU, Through It All. Yep.
All right, so we want to thank everybody. Go Bruins.
Yes, go
and
Bruins.
We will catch you next week. We should we'll be back to having a guest on.
Correct. Yes.
And we'll be talking playoff hockey too. We might have a bonus episode.
Yeah. As long as Bruins make it, we'll have Dave on and we'll talk.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.